My hands trembled, not from fear, but from a cold, hard rage. The woman Sit's voice was sharp, like broken glass. "Someone like you doesn't belong here," she said. Her eyes, cold and assessing, raked over me. I stood in the lobby of the Grand Opulence Hotel. It was supposed to be a celebration. A small one, just for me. I had just closed the biggest deal of my career. I wanted a quiet dinner, a soft bed, a moment of peace. Instead, I got her. Let's call her Mrs. Albright, though Karen felt more fitting. She was dripping in jewels. Her voice dripped with disdain. "This is a high-class establishment," she continued, her voice loud enough for others to hear. Heads turned, whispers started. My cheeks burned. I tried to speak, to explain I was a guest. "I have a reservation," I said, my voice barely a whisper. She scoffed. "Likely stolen, or a mistake." She signaled to the hotel manager, a nervous man named Mr. Henderson. He scurried over, eyes darting between us. "Is there a problem, Mrs. Albright?" he asked, his tone fawning. "This person," she said, gesturing vaguely at me, "is disturbing the peace. She clearly doesn't have the means to be a guest here. She's probably looking for handouts, or worse." My heart pounded. My own money, hard-earned, felt worthless in that moment. Mr. Henderson looked at me, not with curiosity, but with suspicion. The same suspicion Mrs. Albright wore so openly. "Ma'am," he began, his voice polite but firm, "perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Do you have your confirmation?" I reached for my phone, my fingers clumsy. But Mrs. Albright wasn't done. "I am a Diamond Tier member here, Henderson. I spend thousands, tens of thousands every year. Are you going to allow riffraff to bother your loyal patrons?" Her voice rose with every word. Mr. Henderson wilted, his spine seemed to dissolve. He turned back to me, his face now a mask of apology, but not for me, for her. "Ma'am," he said, his voice lower now, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We don't want any trouble." "Trouble?" I asked, my voice finally finding some strength. "I am the one being troubled." "Please, ma'am," he insisted, his eyes pleading, "just go quietly." Quietly, as if I were the shame. The injustice of it choked me. I looked around, at the curious faces, the judgmental stares. No one spoke up for me. I was alone, humiliated. I wanted to scream, to rage. But I held it in. A different fire started to burn, a cold, determined fire. I met Mrs. Albright Sip's triumphant smirk. I met Mr. Henderson Sepp's cowardly gaze. And I turned, and I walked out. Each step out of that opulent lobby was heavy. Heavy with shame, yes, but heavier still with a promise. A promise I made to myself. This was not over. Oh, this was far from over. The city lights blurred through my tears as I drove away. But the tears weren't just sadness, they were fuel. That night, sleep didn't come. Her words echoed, "Someone like you." What did she mean? Someone black? Someone not dripping in old money? It didn't matter. The insult was clear, the prejudice, sickening. The next day the anger was still there, cold, sharp, focused. I couldn't let it go. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every person ever made to feel small, unworthy. I started digging. The Grand Opulence Hotel. It looked so strong, so impenetrable. But everything has a weakness. I used my skills, my contacts, the very success they thought I couldn't possess. I discovered the hotel was part of a larger chain. And that chain, it was struggling, quietly, desperately. Debts were piling up, investors were getting nervous. A little tremor of an idea started in my mind. It was wild, impossible even. Buy it. Buy the Grand Opulence Hotel. The thought almost made me laugh, it was so audacious. But the more I thought about it, the less funny it seemed. And the more an icy calm settled over me. It would take everything I had. Every penny, every connection, every ounce of my will. But the image of Mrs. Albright Sepp's shocked face. The thought of Mr. Henderson Setson's jaw-dropping. That was a powerful motivator. The plan began to form, not a plan of simple revenge, but a plan of reclamation, of justice. I would not just show them, I would change things. The work began. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Long nights spent poring over financial statements. Secret meetings with brokers, with lawyers. I had to be careful. No one could know it was me, not yet. I formed a shell corporation, anonymous, untraceable. I sold stocks, I liquidated assets, I took risks that made my stomach churn. There were moments I doubted, moments I wanted to give up. The memory of that lobby, her voice, his cowardice. It always brought me back. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Sarah, thought I was crazy at first. "Are you sure about this, Maya?" she'd asked. "This is a huge gamble." "I'm sure," I told her. "Some things are worth gambling for." She saw the steel in my eyes, she stopped asking. The negotiations were brutal. The parent company was desperate, but they were also proud. They didn't want the world to know the grand opulence was on the brink. We went back and forth, offers, counter-offers. Sometimes I felt like I was drowning in numbers and legal jargon. But I kept swimming. Towards that one, single goal. Then one rainy Tuesday afternoon Sarah called. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the smile in it. "Maya," she said, "it's done. The Grand Opulence Hotel is yours." I closed my eyes. A wave of something immense washed over me. Relief, exhaustion, and a deep, quiet triumph. I owned it, the very place I was thrown out of. The irony was not lost on me. But I didn't celebrate, not yet. The real work was just beginning. For a few weeks I stayed silent. I let the news of the sale trickle through the hotel. A new anonymous owner. I imagined the whispers, the speculation. Mr. Henderson was probably nervous. New owners often meant changes. He had no idea. I learned about the staff, the operations, the problems. The things that were hidden beneath the polished surface. I wanted to understand everything before I made my move. Then I chose the day. A charity gala, one of the biggest events of the year at the hotel. Mrs. Albright would be there. She was on the organizing committee. It was perfect. I didn't dress to blend in this time. I chose a dress that spoke of confidence, of power. Not loud, but undeniable. I walked into the lobby, the same lobby. It felt different this time, colder somehow. Or maybe I was... No, not colder, stronger. My heart was calm, my mind clear. I saw Mr. Henderson near the ballroom entrance, fussing over details. He looked stressed, older. He didn't recognize me at first, just another guest. I walked towards him. As I got closer, a flicker of something crossed his face. Uncertainty, then a dawning, horrified recognition. His eyes widened, his mouth fell slightly open. "You," he whispered, color draining from his face. "Me," I said, my voice even. "We need to talk, Mr. Henderson. But later." I didn't wait for his reply. I walked past him, into the ballroom. The room was glittering, people in their finest. And there she was, Mrs. Albright, holding court. Laughing too loudly, a champagne flute in her hand. She hadn't changed, still arrogant, still entitled. She saw me, her eyes narrowed. That familiar look of disdain. "What are you doing here?" she snapped. Her voice low and venomous. "Security." Some heads turned. I smiled. A small calm smile. "There's no need for security, Mrs. Albright," I said. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Her face twisted in confusion, then anger. "I thought I made it clear you weren't welcome at this hotel," she hissed. "Oh, I'm more than welcome," I replied, my voice carrying just enough for those nearby to hear. In fact, I paused, letting the moment stretch. "I own it." Silence. You could have heard a diamond drop. Mrs. Albright Sett's face. It was a picture. Shock. Disbelief. Then a slow, dawning horror that mirrored Mr. Henderson's. Her champagne flute clattered to the floor. "You what?" she stammered. "I bought the hotel, Mrs. Albright," I said, keeping my voice steady. "A few weeks ago, the grand opulence is mine." The whispers around us grew into a buzz. Mr. Henderson had rushed in, drawn by the commotion. He stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. Mrs. Albright looked from me to the stunned faces around her. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling. "This is absurd," she finally sputtered. "A trick. Henderson, do something." Mr. Henderson looked at me, then at her. He was trapped. I turned to him. "Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice now carrying a new authority, "perhaps you could confirm for Mrs. Albright who the new owner of this establishment is." He swallowed hard. His eyes pleaded with me. "Well, Mr. Henderson?" I pressed. He looked down at his shoes. "It's true, Mrs. Albright," he mumbled. "The hotel was sold. She is the new owner." Mrs. Albright stared at him, then back at me. The fight drained out of her, replaced by a sort of pathetic disbelief. "But, how?" "Hard work, Mrs. Albright," I said, "something you might not understand." I looked around at the assembled guests. "There will be some changes around here," I announced, my voice clear and firm. "This hotel will no longer be a place where prejudice and disrespect are tolerated. Not from staff, and not from guests, no matter how much money they spend." My gaze returned to Mrs. Albright. "Your Diamond Tier membership, Mrs. Albright? It's revoked, permanently." Her face turned pale. This was a blow to her status, her pride. "And you," I said, turning to Mr. Henderson. "Your failure to uphold basic decency, your cowardice in the face of bullying, it has no place in my organization. As of this moment, you are dismissed." He sagged, looking utterly defeated. Mrs. Albright started to protest, to bluster. "You can't do this," she shrieked. "I can," I said calmly. "And I have. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a gala to attend, in my hotel." I turned my back on her. The whispers followed me, but they were different now. Awe, respect, maybe even a little fear. But it wasn't about fear, it was about justice. It was about making things right. The rest of the evening was a blur. But I remember the feeling. A quiet satisfaction. A sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. The path to that moment had been hard, so hard. But standing there, in that ballroom, knowing I had turned my deepest humiliation into my greatest triumph, it was worth every sacrifice. The next day, the real work began. It wasn't enough to just punish Mrs. Albright and Mr. Henderson. I wanted to build something better. I promoted a young woman from housekeeping, Maria, to assistant manager. I remembered her from that awful day. She had given me a small, sympathetic look. It was a tiny gesture, but I never forgot it. She was smart, capable, and had a genuine warmth. We implemented new training programs for all staff, focusing on respect, inclusivity, and how to handle difficult situations with integrity. We changed the Diamond Tier program. It was no longer just about money. It was about loyalty, yes, but also about respect for the establishment and its values. The grand opulence began to change. Slowly at first, then with gathering momentum. It became known not just for its luxury, but for its heart. A place where everyone felt welcome, truly welcome. Mrs. Albright, I heard, was mortified. She tried to rally her friends, to boycott the hotel. It didn't work. People were drawn to the new grand opulence, to the story, to the change. Her power, built on snobbery and exclusion, had crumbled. Sometimes I would walk through the lobby. The same lobby where I had been so cruelly dismissed. It didn't hold any bad memories anymore. It was a symbol of my journey, of resilience. That one act of prejudice, that one moment of deep pain had set me on an unexpected path. It led me to discover a strength I didn't know I possessed. It taught me that you can fight injustice not just with anger but with determination and a vision for something better. My revenge wasn't just about tearing them down. It was about building myself, and this hotel, up. And that, I realized, was the sweetest victory of all. The fire that had ignited in me that day hadn't burned out. It had simply transformed into a warm, steady glow, illuminating the way forward. I still felt a twinge when I thought of her words, someone like you. But now, I smiled. Because someone like me had shown them exactly who she was. And she was just getting started. Thank you for listening to my story. If you were moved by this journey of resilience and justice, please give this video a thumbs up. What did you think of Mrs. Albright's downfall? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Sharing this video helps us reach more people who might need to hear that they too can overcome adversity. Until next time, stay strong and believe in your power to change your story.